Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Heiser, scholar in residence at Faith Life, and I want to talk to you about a familiar verse today that we often hear, but probably whenever you do hear it or whenever you come across it in your Bible reading, you sort of wonder, what in the world does that mean? And that is Proverbs 25:22. This is the verse that talks about, in relationship to an enemy, that we will heap blazing coals of fire upon their head and be rewarded by the Lord. Now, is this statement in the book of Proverbs sort of an endorsement for retaliation? Is this kind of Solomon's eye for an eye sort of verse in the book of Proverbs? Well, that actually isn't the case. If you look in the book of Proverbs, you're going to get passages and, again, maxims, proverbial sayings about how to treat enemies that are actually very positive. In Proverbs 24, just one chapter earlier, we get the statement that when our enemy falls, we shouldn't rejoice. And there are other passages in the Bible as well about, hey, when you run into your enemy's ox on the road, don't steal it, take it and bring it back to him. So even with our enemies, the idea of loving our enemies is Old Testament in its thought. And so that sort of runs against the grain of interpreting Proverbs 25:22 as though it's an endorsement for retaliation, eye for an eye kind of thinking. So if that's not the case, what does the proverb mean? What does this saying mean? It's very odd. Again, how do we heap burning coals of fire on someone's head, and then why would the Lord reward us? Well, a lot of scholars think this refers to an Egyptian practice. And there could be something to this because there are, in this section of Proverbs, a number of Egyptianisms in the book of Proverbs around these chapters. And in Egypt, when someone was shamed or needed to be publicly shamed, perhaps for a crime or something they did, they would carry around a little basin on their head with burning coals of fire on it. It was just a sign that this person has done something shameful. Other traditions might be in play as well. Maybe you're actually giving them something positive to go start a fire is another option. Regardless of really where you land, we know from the rest of the verse, taking this statement in the context of the verse, that it's actually not retaliation. Before you get to the phrase about the burning coals of fire, the enemy is described as someone you need to give food to when they're hungry or give them water when they're thirsty. And then when you heap burning coals of fire on their head, the Lord will reward you. What it really comes down to is the messaging here is that when you have an enemy, mercy, doing well to them, is actually the best revenge or the best solution, the best resolution to the problem. Because in doing so, God will reward you for doing what's right, and your enemy will be shamed. Now, I talk about this verse in Bible Study Magazine and other verses like it. I often write about strange verses, weird verses, things you don't hear in church or don't really ever hear a sermon on in that magazine. So I highly recommend, if you found this interesting, check out Bible Study Magazine and subscribe.